Good morning. Today I'm going to change the oil. It's a pretty simple procedure. Just wanted to film it. 2008 Nissan Quest with a 3.5 liter V6. Using these trusty durable ramps. Really like these things. Steel ramps, had them for years. Due to the low clearance of the Quest, I did have to put a little bit of a little lift there before I hit the ramp because the front bumper was catching there. So put that right before the ramp and was able to come up. Warming up the engine now to get the oil thin enough to drain out most of it. Also chalk the back wheel up in both directions. Keep it safe while we're doing this. So warmed up the temperature to that's about normal operating temperature, a little, maybe 1 notch higher for normal operating. That's how many miles I have on this Quest. It likes clean oil, I'm told. You know, what engine wouldn't like clean oil? Seems kind of funny to say that, but that's what I've been told from the Nissan dealer. And yeah, I have almost 150,000 miles on this, and so it's about to operating temperature. I'm going to shut it off, and then I'm going to show you what's next. So here's a shot of the engine compartment. Next step is to open up the loosen the filler cap. We'll do that. So here's a shot of the supplies I'm going to use. Yeah, windshield wiper fluid. I'm going to probably check that and add that too. I know it's going to need it. Just go with the Walmart SuperTech. It works real well. It is like the best price. Go with a Fram filter, synthetic ultra. Not sure what size it is yet for the drain plug, but I'll show you that. And I use the smaller oil filter wrench because it's a tiny oil filter, as you can see on this model. And yeah, I might get roasted for my choice in oils, but hey, I've had cars run a long time on this stuff, so it's fine by me. If I go up here, we want to crack the the oil filler cap so all the oil drains out, and that'll be the next step. So here we are underneath the vehicle, and right there is the oil pan. There's the drain plug. It's 14 millimeter, and right to the passenger side, if you look over here, is you got this rock guard cover here, and you don't have to remove that because it should move out of the way enough. And there's the oil filter right next to the crankshaft pulley. So we'll be able to access that just fine. Like I said, 14 millimeter is the bolt there, and already got it cracked loose. Position the oil pan. There's my oil pan. I'm sorry, my oil catch pan. Take this out. Always have clean rags available. There we go. Got it out. It's draining. Nice good flow. It's not too hot, just right. I'll let this drain out. So once the oil was about stopped, I went ahead and cleaned it off around the area with a clean rag. Notice there is a copper washer there. They do recommend you replace that each time, but I found that if you inspect it, this one looked okay. I'm reusing it. Don't seem to have any leaks with it. You want to snug your bolt up, not too tight. There is a torque specification, but I've been doing this a long time. I know to make it about how many foot-pounds. It's not real. It's not a whole lot of foot-pounds or whatever. You don't want to over torque it. Just snug enough, or else it may not come off, and you have a real problem later. So once that's tight, we can look over here. So the way this wrench works, this is actually a pivoting type wrench. It lets you get different angle on the handle if you need to, but you have to put it on one way, always lefty-loosey, so pretty easy to come off. These are always put on, my my filters hand tighten, and never use a wrench to tighten them per the specs, but just spin it off, let the oil start coming out there, let it drain. I'll probably put the camera down so I don't get oil all over me, and take it off the rest of the way. I'll show you what it looks like after you get the filter off. There wasn't a whole lot of oil in there, as this is a rather small oil filter. So here we are. I've cleaned up the surface. I've wiped it down. Looks nice and clean. I'll show you a shot of the so here's the new oil filter, and I actually applied the new 5W30. That's what this car calls for, the specs. And I did add fresh clean oil to the new gasket so it'll seal correctly. This filter says to put it on hand tight, and when the gasket touches the mating surface, the housing, then you turn it one more full turn by hand only. So now we'll start the I'll start this threading on here. I want to make sure it definitely threads on easily. And you just want to make sure once it hits the mating surface, right about there. So then I know I need to only turn it by hand one more time, or one time. So right about there. It's about as hard as, it's about as tight as you can make it by hand, honestly, for me anyway. So yeah, that's about it. Not much more on that. Okay, well there you can see I cleaned it up pretty good, wiped the oil down, got it on there. Next we're going to add the oil. This takes 4 1/4 quarts with the oil filter. 4 1/4, which is a kind of a strange capacity, but that way you can make sure you're not under or overfilled. Always important to do that. Always important to dispose of your oil properly. I take mine to AutoZone. They never give me a problem about taking it. Just set it on a cart. They dump it. It's very convenient. So I'll put this old oil into the, once I empty the oil I need to in here, I'll find an old jug, save the 3/4 quart somewhere, and then we'll go from there. All right, here's what I do on this particular car. Instead of taking the shroud off, I guess, which maybe would give me more access to the oil fill hole, I go ahead and put this rag around it and just pour directly from the 5-quart jug. You got to be careful. It does get kind of all over the place. Just take your time. Always make sure to add your oil back before you start the engine. And we're going to start the engine while it's still on the lift, still on the ramps rather, and the reason we do that is we check for leaks. That'll be the very last step. But yeah, I'm going to add the oil next. I'm going to use 2 hands to do that, and then we'll check for leaks. Okay, I started it up okay. As it's sitting there warming up, don't see anything dripping down. Looks pretty good. You can inspect directly at the filter. Looks fine there. Look at your drain plug. It looks fine. You should know it pretty quick if you have a leak. If you don't have something tightened up all the way, it'll be coming down pretty fast. So here's where you add the washer fluid. Go ahead and add some of that. Make sure you always use fluid that's appropriate for the time of year. You don't want that to freeze. I use a -20 mix. And that really concludes this oil change. It took me just at a half hour total from the time I drove it up on the ramp, and filming this. So very fast to do it yourself, very economical. Totally recommend you change your own oil if you can. If you can do it, if you have a place to do it. I know not everyone does, but if you do, you can inspect things yourself. You can check out your engine. You might see things before they get too catastrophic. Always a good idea to change your own oil. It just can tell you a whole lot about how well your vehicle is running. And you can notice a lot more when you get underneath of it. All right, that wraps it up. I'm going to take it off the ramp. Ramp's here in just a second, so you don't need to see that. And thank you for watching, and I hope this is helpful to someone.